everyone, I'm just making a wrap-up video from the events that we just had, the Put Australia First events on Saturday and Sunday, the 29th and 30th of November. So I'm going to let you guys know what went down, what's next, what I learnt, etc. The first thing I want to say, and I'm going to confront it straight up, is that there was not many people there. Both events, around about 1,000 people, give or take. Some people came, some people left. Now, there were some practical things that played into that. In Sydney, for example, there was some closed train lines. They also were doing some maintenance on the town hall steps, which confused people. And also some people went to Hyde Park instead. But those are excuses. At the end of the day, they were small turnouts. And you know what? At that moment, especially in Sydney, because we had the events on 2 different days. So when I was in Sydney at about 11:30, half an hour before the event started, and hardly anybody was there, I felt like a 16-year-old who was having a party and no one showed up. I wanted to crawl under a rock and die. Like, it was very humbling for me, and it was quite a difficult situation in that moment. However, things turned around, okay? So we had enough people for a march. It wasn't an embarrassing amount of people. It was enough. It wasn't the biggest event I've been to, but it was enough. And what happened that day is the most positive Australia event I've ever been to. The speakers were amazing. They were all on point. There was a lot of new speakers, young, fresh faces who want to make a name for themselves. We had diverse speakers from Africa, from Iran, from Queensland, from other states. We had some politicians speaking, but mostly it was just everyday Australians. And I didn't speak, so I just got to stand there and observe. And I was just so impressed with the speakers, and I was so impressed with the atmosphere, because we had live music and people were singing along and dancing, and it was completely peaceful. There was no problems whatsoever, and I felt very at home at that event. The same thing in Melbourne. At the beginning, I was freaking out because there wasn't enough people there, and I wanted to crawl under a rock and die again. But I stuck it out, and the Melbourne event was incredible. It was very well professionally organized. We had special sections for the speakers so that Pauline Hanson could feel safe, and we had tons of security that were able to keep out the extremists from both sides, which they did have to deal with. And what I learned something really valuable, and that is, it's not all about the people that show up. It's not all about the numbers on the day itself. The vibe is also very important, but the online content is as important, if not more important, because, for example, I know 2 social media platforms that only have 5,000 or 6,000 followers, for example, and videos from the event have gone viral on their 5,000 or 6,000 people platforms, which is very unusual. So I think for the first time, I was a part of definitely a moderate mainstream campaign. I'm used to being on the, I guess you could say, the controversial side of things, anti-lockdown, anti-vaccine, etc. So I'm used to being controversial and getting attention for being controversial. This was the first time that I would say that we were running a very moderate mainstream event. And because of that, we got hardly any media attention before the event. We had Sky News, 2GB, 3AW, yes, but because we weren't controversial, because we weren't racist, because we weren't asking for ridiculous things, nobody cared about us, because we were just normal people. And what's really interesting about that is that I finally felt what it feels like to be in the mainstream voices that get lost. Australian middle, like the average Aussie has no voice. This is a terrible culture that we're setting up. The mainstream media only give attention to controversial people who are extreme on both ends, and they give no voice to the mainstream people. And that is causing people to go to extremes. It's a really dangerous place to be in. And I felt that because I'm used to getting controversial attention easily, and I didn't have that this time. And what I realized is that if you're in the moderate mainstream voice, you have to work 10 times as hard to get noticed and to get heard. And that is what is causing some people to go to extremes, because it's the only way to be heard. Someone from my team said, oh, maybe we need to say something controversial. And I'm like, no, that's the whole point. We're trying to offer something different. And yeah, I've got a lot to think about over the next couple of months, because how do everyday Australians get heard? I don't know the answers yet, but I do know that we have to keep doing this and we have to stay on the message, because I believe a lot of our supporters are very busy people with lives, with families, jobs and stuff like that. And it's really hard for them to get to a march. So they're watching online from home. And that's why the online content got so much coverage, because those people would have been there if it was desperate enough, if it was bad enough, or if they had the time to go. Those people will be there if the right moment like comes up in the future. So that's why I think that the Put Australia First branding, the messaging was very, very good and positive. And we're just going to have to work 10 times harder to get attention and to get more people there. But it was still absolutely a success. The other thing I'm very happy about is that the mainstream media absolutely knew the difference between Put Australia First and other organisations that are running marches. They noticed that we kicked out someone who is associated with Nazis from the event. The police knew that we didn't want those people there. So we really did put on a safe event with security, and anybody could have come, family friendly and stuff like that. And we did not deviate from the message. You know, we want immigration reform. We don't want to send legal immigrants home. And we also do not discriminate against people that are here of different colour that love Australia. Some of those other organisations actually completely trolled us for having an African speaker and an Iranian speaker, saying that they are not welcome at a pro-Australia event. But both of these men delivered extremely powerful speeches. In fact, they can say things that other people can't say because they are an immigrant. They are the good example of what we want with immigration. We want people to come here because they love this country, not because they want to change it. And those two men understood that. So we were so grateful to have them, and it was very courageous for them to speak at our events. So overall, the coverage has been incredible. Pauline Hanson got obviously a lot of media coverage for the event in Melbourne, and there's been a lot of follow-up inquiries and a lot of media attention about it as well. And so that all just goes to show me that overall it was a roaring success. It was peaceful, it was positive. We were marching for something instead of marching against something. And so I have enough to say that we will be doing another event. It will be next year. It will be maybe March or April or something like that. But, you know, I did have to spend my own money on this event. So hopefully we can get some support, we can get some sponsorships, and we can work with people, because, you know, some of those speakers, some of the politicians, you know, got a lot of media content from that. And so if we are going to keep doing this, we're going to need some support. So if you want to support the event, you can email us at contact@putaustraliafirst.com. That's contact@putaustraliafirst.com. And yeah, that's pretty much a wrap of the whole event. And I hope if you came, I hope you had fun, and everyone that helped, thank you so much. It wouldn't be possible without you. And I hope that we can grow the team and we can do other events. And I do also recognize that marching does not solve the problems. We need to get involved in politics. We need to participate in democracy. Marching is not the end of the road for Put Australia First. It's only the beginning. So we'll be there for the ride, and we'll see you at the next event. Thanks for coming.